did that 2 weeks ago and it didn't take, so hopefully we'll be good. I've got 7 o'clock. I'm going to get started. Everyone else will have to wait until I see them come on. Hello, it is Wednesday. And Betty, I love your view of San Francisco, the bridge behind you. That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Bradley's got the six-panel doors, which I remember from New Hampshire. Bindu's getting rained out in India, and I'm boiling. Betty, you and I are boiling here in Florida.
Oh, yeah.
The heat is ridiculous, unbelievable. So I love starting things out with what were your wins this past week? What did you take away from our last meeting? What did you implement from our last meeting? What is striking you the most about this study? Who wants to share?
Everyone is shy.
No, I see Brad thinking. Brad, I can tell when Brad's thinking. Just go for it, Brad. Give me something.
Yeah. Well, I just think as a whole, I'm noticing more and more how the community of people that I'm becoming and more involved with are just interconnected. It seems like all of them, and it's pretty cool to see, some of the results from different areas just get tied back to the same values, more or less.
Yeah, it's interesting. And thank you for sharing that, Brad. It's interesting that we are the sum of the people that we communicate with the most, that we hang out with the most. And if we're hanging out and having conversations with people who are like-minded, um, and to be honest with you, even they can be like-minded, but they don't have to agree with everything. And it kind of opens up a conversation. And I think when you have that happening, everybody grows. And really that's what life is all about, is to continue growing. I was listening to a recording of excerpts from Earl Nightingale's uh, radio recordings. So he was a big radio broadcaster here in the United States back in the I guess early to late 50s. And Earl is he's a wealth of knowledge. And he says, just because you're getting old doesn't mean you stop growing. It's all part of the process. And even Napoleon says it's interesting that a lot of people, I was listening to the Science of Personal Achievement today, and he says, a lot of people have a fear of getting old. And in the time that he was doing that recording, they were getting old at like the age of 40. They were fearful about being the age of 40 or 50. And records show that most people achieve their major successes between the ages of 65 and 75. So it's really interesting, especially in today's day and age where we're going to tend to live a little bit longer. So why would we stop growing? We don't have to keep driving as hard as we always have. We don't have to keep working as hard as we have, but we should always continue to study and grow and learn because we have a lot to offer. I received a message. So this past weekend was Memorial Day weekend in the United States, where we honor all of our veterans who did not make it home, and that's usually a pretty busy week for me. And we did a color guard ceremony. We did a big ceremony at our local Vietnam Memorial Wall, and we do a 24-hour vigil. My detachment of the Marine Corps League, and it's always an exhausting weekend for me. And what I understand is, we're there to help people. And there was a woman that approached me at the table. There was a group of us at the table, a group of Marines, and she came up and she wanted to say thank you, but she couldn't. All she did was cry. And then she walked away from the table, and I just couldn't let her walk away with that being the only connection we had. And so I walked out from behind the table and I followed her, and I said, "Ma'am, would you please stop?" And she turned and I said, "It's okay." And I gave her a hug. And she hugged and cried her eyes out. And when I released the hug, she held on. And when you have that type of connection with a human being, knowing that there's something there that they're struggling with, it makes you realize, it helps you to realize that we are only here to serve each other. So why would, I mean, some people wouldn't have done what I did. I've actually been told by my wife, stop hugging people. You're going to get arrested. But at the end of the day, sometimes that's all we need. Now, there were no words between me and this woman. There was just a hug and some tears. And I feel like she walked away feeling like somebody actually cared. I know I walked away like I felt like I had actually impacted somebody's life. And of course, my mission is to positively impact the lives of others any way I can. So that was a very emotional weekend for me. And Napoleon says we're here to serve others, and we should try to do the best we can any way we can, and continue to do that for the rest of our lives. So that's good stuff. So anyone else? Hello, Yolena from Ohio. Look at you. You ready? What are you? What are you doing? You're standing up. The dogs aren't all over you. What's going on?
Oh, nothing much. I'm a little sick right now, actually. So,
Oh, don't be sick. No, you're not sick. Say you're not sick. You feel healthy and wonderful. Change the mindset. It'll be good. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add before I start the reading and start to share? We're going to let Lynn in. She's coming in right now. There are some folks I want to share with you guys. There are some folks that are not with us tonight because they're going through some type of medical issue. They've got some things going on in their lives. Lynn has actually missed a couple of nights with us. Hi, Lynn. How are you?
Very well, thank
How's
you. My,
Mario doing? Mario doing better?
he's home, and we're both so happy that he's here. It was almost like a miracle went through. And thank you for all the prayers from everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Lynn, I've been thinking about you for a good part of a week now, so I'm happy to see that Mario's home and comfortable, and you're there to harass him all the way, right?
Absolutely.
It's all good. It's all good. Anyone else have anything to add before I share the screen? Because I don't want to forget to share. And we're going to pick up where we left off last week, but I have one question. So I am the devil. So we start with Napoleon Hill. Who's going to play the part of Napoleon Hill this evening? Hello, Myrna. Who's going to play Napoleon Hill this evening? Oh, I need a volunteer. Don't make me pick somebody. Bindu, my friend from India. All right. So we have Bindu is going to read the questions from Napoleon Hill, and I am going to respond as the devil. Here we go. I'm going to share
Would you
the
like
screen.
me to read the other parts?
Who's that, Betty?
Yes.
Yes, Betty. You can read the other parts.
Okay.
We good? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
All right. Let me let Yolena jumped out and I'm going to let her back in. Okay, here we go. So, Bindu, it starts with you.
Yeah. You say you have corrupted the minds of the young people with liquor and cigarettes. I can understand how liquor might destroy the power of independent thought, but do not see what cigarettes have to do with helping your cause.
You may not know it, but cigarettes break down the power of persistence. They destroy the power of endurance. They destroy the ability to concentrate. They deaden and undermine the imaginative faculty and help in other ways to keep people from using their minds most effectively. Do you know I have millions of people, young and old, of both sexes, who smoke 2 packages of cigarettes a day? That means I have millions of people who are gradually destroying their power of resistance. One day, I shall add to their habit of cigarette smoking of other destroying habits until I shall have gained control of their minds. Habits come in pairs, triplets, and quadruplets. Any habit which weakens one's willpower invites a flock of its relatives to move in and take possession of the mind. The cigarette habit not only lowers the power of resistance and discourages persistence, but it invites looseness in other human relationships.
I I never thought that cigarettes were a tool of destruction, Your Majesty, but your explanation throws a different light on the subject. How many converts to the habit do you now claim?
I am proud of my record. Millions are now victims, and the number is increasing daily. Soon, I shall have most of the world indulging in the habit. In thousands of families, I now have followers of the habit, including every member of the family. Very young boys and girls are beginning to take up the habit. They are learning how to smoke by observing their parents and older brothers and sisters.
Which do you consider to be your greater tool for gaining control of human minds, cigarettes or liquor?
Without hesitation, I would say cigarettes. Once I get a young person to join my 2-pack-a-day club, I have no trouble in inducing that person to take on the habit of liquor over indulgence of sex and all other related habits which destroy independence of thought and action. Betty?
Remember, this was written in 1938, long before the addictive nature of tobacco was discovered. Here, as elsewhere, Napoleon Hill is far ahead of his time in some of his medical and sociological opinions.
Your Majesty, when I began this interview, I had you all wrong. I thought you were a fraud and a fake, but I see now that you are quite real and very powerful.
Your apology is accepted, but you need not have bothered. Millions of people have questioned my power, and I got most of them at the gate as they came over. I ask no person to believe in me. I prefer that people fear me. I am no beggar. I take what I want by cleverness and force, begging people to believe in the business of my opposition, not mine.
Your Majesty will please pardon my rudeness, but I would not be able to look myself in the face again if I did not tell you here and now that you are the damnedest fiend ever to be turned loose on innocent people. I always had the wrong conception of you. I thought you were kind enough to let people alone while they were living, that you merely tortured their souls after death. Now I learn from your own brazen confession that you destroyed their rights to freedom of thought and caused them to go through a living hell on earth. What do you have to say to that?
I get what I want by exercising self-control. It is not so good for my own business, but I suggest you emulate me instead of criticizing me. You call yourself a thinker, and you are. Otherwise, you would never have forced this interview on me. But you will never be the sort of thinker that frightens me unless you gain and exercise greater control over your own emotions.
Let us get away from personalities. I came here to learn more about you, not to discuss myself. Please go ahead and tell me of the many tricks that you have devised for gaining control of the human mind. What is your most powerful weapon just now?
That is a difficult question to answer. I have so many devices for entering human minds and controlling them that it is difficult to say which are the most powerful. Right at the moment, I am trying to bring about another world war. My friends here in Washington are helping me to involve America in the war. If I can start the world to killing on a wholesale basis, I shall be able to put into operation my favorite device for mind control. It is what you may call a mass fear. I used this device to bring about the other World War in 1914. I used it to bring around the economic depression in 1929. And if my opposition had not double-crossed me, I would now be in possession of every man, woman, and child in the world. You can see for yourself how near I came to world domination, the thing I have been struggling to attain for thousands of years. Betty?
Here, the devil claims to be working with both sides to instigate war, based on his sowing the seeds of fear throughout the world. This is the essence of what has come to be known in our time as terrorism and the response to it. Through Hill's work, the devil takes credit for not only both world wars, but also the Great Depression. It is easy to add the current economic collapse to his list of credits. Both war and economic collapse breed fear in people's minds and are certainly the work of the devil.
Hindu?
Yes, I see your point. Who wouldn't? You are a very ingenious manipulator of the minds of people. Is your devilish business carried on only through people of high position and great influence?
Oh, no. I use the minds of people in all walks of life. As a matter of fact, I prefer the type of person who makes no pretense of thinking. I can manipulate that sort of person without difficulty. I could not control 98% of the people of the world if all people were skilled in thinking for themselves.
I'm interested in the welfare of those people whom you claim to control. Therefore, I wish you to tell me all of the tricks by which you enter and control their minds. I want a complete confession from you. So begin with your cleverest trick.
This is suicide. You are forcing on me, but I am helpless. So settle down, and I will place in your hands the weapon by which millions of your fellow earthbound will defend themselves against me. We go on to chapter 4, Drifting with the Devil. Hindu.
Tell me first about your most clever trick, the one you use to ensnare the greatest number of people.
If you force me to give away the secret, it will mean my loss of millions of people now living in still greater numbers of millions yet unborn. I beg of you, permit me to pass this one question unanswered.
So, His Majesty, the devil fears a mere humble earthbound creature. Is that right?
It is not right, but it is true. You have no right to rob me of my most necessary tool of trade. For millions of years, I have dominated earthbound creatures throughout fear and ignorance. Now you come along and would destroy my use of these weapons by forcing me to allow how I use them, or to tell how I use them. Do you not realize that you will break my grip on every person who heeds this confession you are forcing from me? Have you no mercy? Have you no sense of humor? Have you no sportsmanship?
Stop stalling and start confessing. Who are you to ask mercy on one whom you would destroy if you could? Who are you to talk of sportsmanship and a sense of humor? You who, by your own confession, have set up a living hell on earth where you punish innocent people through their fears and ignorance. As for minding my business, my own business, that is just what I'm doing when I force you to tell how you control people through their own minds. My business, if it can be called a business, is helping to unlock the doors of the self-made prisons in which men and women are confined because of the fears you have planted in their minds.
Betty?
Mr. Earthbound has the power to force the devil to answer his question. His own knowledge of independent thought and lack of fear are his weapons to force this confession.
My greatest weapon over human beings consists of two secret principles by which I gain control of their minds. I will speak first of the principle of habit, through which I silently enter the minds of people. By operating through this principle, I establish, I wish I could avoid using the word, the habit of drifting. When a person begins to drift on any subject, he is headed straight toward the gates of what you earthbound call hell.
Describe all the ways in which you induce people to drift. Define the word and tell us exactly what you mean by it.
I can best define the word drift by saying that people who think for themselves never drift, while those who do little or no thinking for themselves are drifters. A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind. He would rather let me occupy his mind and do his thinking than go to the trouble of thinking for himself. A drifter is one who accepts whatever life throws in his way without making a protest or putting up a fight. He doesn't know what he wants from life and spends all of his time getting just that. A drifter has lots of opinions, but they are not his own. Most of them are supplied by me. A drifter is one who is too lazy mentally to use his own brain. That is the reason I can control people's thinking and plant my own ideas in their minds.
Those who do little or no thinking for themselves are drifters. A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
I think I understand what a drifter is. Tell me the exact habits of people by which you induce them to drift through life. Start by telling me when and how you first gain control of a person's mind.
My control over the mind of a human being is obtained while the person is young. Sometimes I lay the foundation for my control of a mind before the owner of it is born, by manipulating the minds of that person's parents. Sometimes I go further back than this and prepare people for my control through what you earthbound called physical heredity. You see, therefore, I have two approaches to the mind of a person.
Yes, go on and describe these two doors by which you enter and control the minds of human beings.
As I have stated, I help to bring people into your world with weak brains by giving to them before birth as many as possible of the weaknesses of their ancestors. You call this principle physical heredity. After people are born, I make use of what you earthbound call environment as a means of controlling them. This is where the principle of habit enters. The mind is nothing more than the sum total of one's habits. One by one, I enter the mind and establish habits, which lead finally to my absolute domination of the mind.
Tell me of the most common habits by which you control the minds of people.
That is one of my most cleverest tricks. I enter the minds of people through thoughts, which they believe to be their own. Those most useful to me are fear, superstition, avarice, greed, lust, revenge, anger, vanity, and plain laziness. Through one or more of these, I can enter any mind at any age, but I get my best results when I take charge of the mind while it is young, before its owner has learned how to close any of those 9 doors. Then I can set up habits which keep the doors ajar forever.
I'm catching on to your methods. Now let us go back to the habit of drifting. Tell us all about that habit, since you say it is your cleverest trick in controlling the minds of people.
As I said before, I start people drifting during their youth. I induce them to drift through school without knowing what occupation they wish to follow in life. Here I catch the majority of people. Habits are related. Drift in one direction and soon you will be drifting in all directions. I also use environmental habits to give me a definite grip on my victims.
I see. You make it your business to train children in the habit of drifting by inducing them to go through school without aim or purpose. Now tell me of some of your other tricks with which you cause people to become drifters.
Well, my second best trick is in developing the habit of drifting is one that I put into operation with the aid of parents and public school teachers and religious instructors. I warn you not to force me to mention this trick. Do not disclose this trick. If you do so, you will be hated by my coworkers who helped me use this trick. If you publish this confession in a book form, your book will be barred from the public schools. It will be blacklisted by most of the religious leaders. It will be hidden from children by many parents. The newspapers will not dare to give reviews of your book. Millions of people will hate you for writing the book. In fact, no one will like you or your book except those who think. And you know how very few there are of that sort. My advice to you is to let me skip the description of my second best trick.
The author knew this opinion would not be one of the most controversial aspects of his book, or would be, sorry. In fact, his wife was so concerned about it would be received that she made him promise that he would not publish it. In fact, it is only now, well after her death, that the family has agreed to share it with the world. I would encourage you to follow Hill's argument about the public education system and religious teachers and then decide for yourself.
So, for my own good, you wish to withhold the description of your second best trick. No one will like my book except those who think. Those who think, huh? Very well. Go ahead and answer.
You'll regret this, Mr. Earthbound, but the joke is on you. By this mistake of yours, you will divert attention from me to yourself. My coworkers, of whom there are millions, will forget about me and hate you for uncovering my methods.
Never mind about me. Tell me all about this second best trick of yours with which you induce people to drift with you to hell.
My second best trick is not second at all. It is first. It is first because without it, I never could gain control of minds of the youths. Parents, school teachers, religious instructors, and many other adults unknowingly serve my purpose by helping me to destroy in children the habit of thinking for themselves. They go about their work in various ways, never suspecting what they are doing to the minds of children or the real cause of children's mistakes.
Have you ever heard of a parent finishing a child's sentence or seen a parent complete a child's homework? Remember those science fairs at school where it was obvious the kids had a lot of outside help and with their science projects? Mom and dad may have helped a little too much, but deep down, they know that their child appreciates the help and recognizes what great parents they are, right? Actually, the child may be thinking, Mom and Dad don't think I can do this on my own, so why bother? Eventually, this parental help will destroy the child's self-confidence. By allowing children to be truly in charge, parents will help their kids develop the habits of thinking for themselves.
I can hardly believe your majesty. I have always believed that children's best friends were those closest to them, their parents, their school teachers, and their religious instructors. Where would children go for dependable guidance if not to those who have charge of them?
That is where my cleverness comes in. There is the exact explanation of how I control 98% of the people of the world. I take possession of people during their youth before they come into possession of their own minds, by using those who are in charge of them. I especially need the help of those who give children their religious instruction because it is here that I break down independent thought and start people on the habit of drifting by confusing their minds and unprovable ideas concerning a world of which they know nothing. It is here also that I plant in the minds of children the greatest of all fears, the fear of hell.
I understand that it is easy for you to frighten children with threats of hell, but how do you continue to make them fear you and your hell after they grow up and learn to think for themselves?
Children grow up, but they do not always learn to think for themselves. Once I captured the mind of a child through fear, I weaken that child's ability to reason and to think for himself. And that weakness goes with the child all through life.
Is that not taking unfair advantage of a human being by contaminating his mind before he comes into full possession of it?
Everything is fear that I can use to further my ends. I have no foolish limitations of right and wrong. My might is right with me. I use every known human weakness to gain and keep control of the human mind.
I understand your devilish nature. Now let us get back to further discussion of your methods of inducing people to drift to hell here on earth. From your confession, I see that you take charge of children while their minds are young and pliable. Tell me more of how you use parents, teachers, and religious leaders to ensnare people into drifting.
One of my favorite tricks is to coordinate the efforts of parents and religious instructors so that they work together in helping me to destroy the children's power to think for themselves. I use many religious instructors to undermine the courage and power of independent thought of children by teaching them to fear me, but I use parents to aid the religious leaders in this great work of mine.
How do parents help religious leaders destroy their children's power to think for themselves? I never heard of such a monstrosity.
I accomplish this through a very clever trick. I use the parents to teach the children to believe as the parents do in connection with religion, politics, and marriage, and other important subjects. In this way, as you can see, when I gain control of the mind of a person, I can easily perpetuate the control by causing that person to help me fasten it upon the minds of his offspring.
In what other ways do you use parents to convert children to drifters?
I cause children to become drifters by following the example of their parents, most of whom I have already taken over and bound eternally to my cause. In some parts of the world, I gain mastery over children's minds and subdue their willpower in exactly the same way that men break and subdue animals over lower intelligence. It makes no difference to me how a child's will is subdued as long as it fears something. I will enter its mind through that fear and limit the child's power to think independently.
The devil will enter a child's mind through fear and then limit the child's power to think independently. I can remember the many religious leaders I have known in the past and instantly divide them between fear-based instructors and faith-based instructors. In fact, I still get a chill from reliving the fire and brimstone of some of the fear-based sermons I heard as a child. In contrast, I remember the uplifted feeling of hope and courage from the faith-based sermons. Hill's words of wisdom certainly ring true for me. Does fear then paralyze independent thought?
It seems that you go out of your way to keep people from thinking.
Yes, accurate thought is death to me. I cannot exist in the minds of those who think accurately. I do not mind people thinking as long as they think in terms of fear, discouragement, hopelessness, and destructiveness. When they begin to think in constructive terms of faith, courage, hope, and definiteness of purpose, they immediately become allies of my opposition, and therefore they are lost to me.
I'm beginning to understand how you gain control of minds of children through the help of their parents and religious instructors. But I do not see how the school teachers help you in this damnable work.
School teachers help me gain control of the minds of children, not so much by what they teach the children as because of what they do not teach them. The entire public school system is so administered that it helps my cause by teaching children almost everything except how to use their own minds and think independently. I live in fear that someday some courageous person will reverse the present system of school teaching and deal my cause a death blow by allowing the students to become the instructors, using those who now serve as teachers only as guides to help the children establish ways and means of developing their own minds from within. When that time comes, the school teachers will no longer belong to my staff.
Here is the essence of Hill's critique of public education written in 1938. Do you agree with him? Of course. Think of children during kindergarten and first grade. They are enthusiastic and volunteer for everything, raising their hands and excited to learn. Now, fast forward 10 years and think about those children as high school students, the ones sitting in the back of the class, never making eye contact with adults, and absolutely never volunteering or asking a question. They have disengaged from the learning process. What happened to those children? 10 years of schooling? They perceive what to make an error will subject them to ridicule and scorn. So they cease to participate in order to protect themselves. They are taught that the solutions to all problems and conflicts lie not in their own hands and minds, but in the hands and mind of the teacher, the representative of the authorities. To act independently in the face of conflict brings swift rebuke and reprise from the teacher. The children are thus discouraged from independent thought and indoctrinated with the concept that they are incapable of solving their own problems. While there are many excellent teachers, Hill's critique seems validated by the state of education today. If you agree with Hill, what do you think we can do about it? One thing we should do is to seek out those teachers and schools who encourage independent thought in their students and applaud them for their courage.
So I'd like to take a break right here because that's a lot of material that we've just discussed and shared. So I'm going to stop the share. And so what did you take out of that, 30 minutes or so of reading of the book and all of the different opinions from the devil of how he's controlling us? Thoughts, comments, experiences?
It seems like the entire world is trying to control us. Whether you go to church on Sunday or go to school during the week, they always have their hands on us, controlling what we do and think.
Okay. And so what can we do about that as individuals?
Not follow along with every rule that's given. Break some of the rules, think on your own.
I think that last statement you just made, think on your own, right? I mean, we're being taught from books. Um, my perspective is we're being taught from books and then guided with someone else's opinion of what that meant to us as we read the book. So I read a disturbing statistic many years ago that 85% of college graduates never read another book the rest of their lives. And to me, that's really concerning because now, once you've received an education in whatever way it was presented to you, if you don't read and then start to interpret what you're reading from your own perspective, in other words, you're not allowing your mind to to make your own decisions. You're basing all your decisions on what somebody else told you it meant. Well, what if you read it and it meant something different to you? And I'm experiencing that right now as I read so much of Napoleon Hill's writing, Jim Rohn's writing, mentors that I followed for years. When I read things now, I read them differently. I read them with a highlighter initially, and then I go back and read again. And repetition is the mother of learning because the more you read, the more you pick up out of the same material. I'm currently reading The Science of Personal Achievement. At the same time, I'm listening to The Science of Personal Achievement on Audible, and I'm reading Think and Grow Rich in 10 minutes a day, and I'm consuming the same information over and over and over. And each time I read, I pick up something different, and I use my own mind, my own willpower to decide what that means to me and how I'm going to present it to the people that I serve. But the most important thing is it's not my interpretation that's important. It's theirs. It's yours. What's your interpretation of the material? As you read this, I mean, honestly, this is a wonderful book. And the first time I read it, I didn't think so. But this book was written before Think and Grow Rich. And it wasn't allowed to be published until after Napoleon died, frankly, until after his wife died, and the family finally said, yes, this has value. Why do you think it wasn't allowed to be published? What's the fear? What's the impact that could have happened? Myrna.
I guess fear of criticism and, according to them, damnation. But I have to tell you, this is my second reading of this book, and I loved it the first time, and I love it even better now because it just supports what it says when it says, "Be not conformed to the things, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." And just being in this club, just being in Napoleon Hill, we're forced to think. You have to think for yourself in order to survive. So be not conformed, but be ye transformed. Renewing
I,
of your mind.
I love that.
That's powerful. It's
I love
powerful.
that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be conformed, be transformed. Read and think for yourself. Think for ourselves, right? And it's something that always stands out to me is I was reading earlier this year, so many people, just a simple question. For example, Myrna, where would you like to go to dinner tonight? And most people would answer, I don't know. Where would you like to go? We can't even make that simple decision.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
and
definitely going to go to a Trini restaurant. I want to get some boss up shot with roti. Oh, definitely. Yes, I know what I want.
I love it. I love it. Lynn, come on in.
Okay. Well, I feel that if he would have put that book out back then, he was too far ahead of himself. Just like people nowadays, when they're too far ahead of themselves and they'll say something, they go, "Where are you coming from? Who do you think you are to you like, are you woo woo or something?" And it back then, that kind of stuff was more like witchery back
Ah,
then.
yeah. There was a lot of fear back then, right? Remember what they were teaching, right?
Well,
Fire,
yeah,
fire and
and how,
brimstone.
yeah, and back then, those kinds of things were coming from places, and well, even myself, my mother, she had a lot of that intuition, a lot. And the thing is, I remember once thinking, I was young, I thought, oh my God, she's going to know exactly what I'm thinking. Oh my God, I better shut myself down. She's a witch. She's a witch. Because she'd ask me things, and I go, how do you know that? I've not even spoken it, and she'd do things, and other people would say, oh God, your mom's way out there with all her way. But she and my sister and I, we get together and we say, oh my God, if mom was still alive now, oh, she'd be in heaven. Actually, Frank, she'd be right here on the call with you.
I got a feeling she is.
Oh, I can assure you she probably is. But yeah, and the thing is, had he put that book out back then, what kind of credit would he have gotten to be able to put Think and Grow Rich out?
Yeah, yeah.
They wouldn't have given him any credit for it at all, because if he was the kind of person that did that kind of stuff,
So,
like
that's an interesting concept, Lynn.
oh, sorry.
As we learn these things, we have to choose how we present them, right? I know that I found myself oftentimes as I'm reading and studying, I'm composing different opinions and different concepts, and we can't just throw that out there. We have to think about how can we apply these. Whatever it is that we're doing in our career, in our communities, whatever we're going to do with this information that we're studying, how can we help it have its best impact? And it's like little pieces, right? It's you don't start quoting the book.
No.
You start talking about the ideas. And you don't force the ideas. You share. Hey, what do you think about this? I've been thinking about this. And let people digest it a little bit. Because there's nothing yet that I've read in any of this study that would be negative to us if we think about how we can implement it. How could it make your life better? How could it make you help somebody else's life be better? And how can you share that with them? You know the people that we run into sometimes, they're all on this highfalutin thing. Oh, I've just learned this new thing and I just want to shove it down your throat. Please accept this. And no, we can't do that because that's not the way we help people.
I think I've been there at times. That's what
I think
scares
I,
me
I
now.
I think we all have, right? And so we have to think about, what's the information that we're digesting, and let's really think about it. What pieces of this? I'm not saying we're going to read this book and spread it out to everybody, the whole book, the whole concept. It's just too much, but there are certain things that we can pull out of this. Are you really thinking for yourself? Right. I had somebody send me a message the other day. It was after our veterans memorial service for Memorial Day. And this individual was really upset about the state of the condition of the park that we were in. We've gone through multiple hurricanes here in Florida, and some of the things just haven't come back to normal. And so this individual wanted to make a written post on Facebook criticizing the condition of this park. and she sent it to me. I guess it was probably 6:30 on Monday morning, or no, Tuesday morning. And she said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, that's one way to do it, but I'm not sure that I would like to be chastised on social media about something that I may not be aware that it even exists. So perhaps the better way to handle it would be to send a private message to the mayor, someone in charge of that component of the community, and let them know what you've experienced and see if they're even aware of it and give them a chance to fix it." Right? So we can go like a bull in a china shop and break all the glasses as we're charging through, but not have the same impact if we just step back for a minute and think, okay, what's the best way for me to present this information to get the most positive result that will help our community or ourselves? What do you think?
I think it's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, soften it up a little bit, right? Don't attack. And you know, if I think about myself 30 years ago, I would have attacked. I'd been all over it. But sometimes age, wisdom gives us an opportunity to step back for a minute and say, nah, yeah, maybe that would work, but maybe not the way you want it to. Because when you punch them in the nose, they're not going to come out and kiss you. They're going to come out and fight with you, right? You know, so present things a little bit differently. So I share that because there are ways that we can present the information that we're gathering that would be beneficial to our community. So, you know, in my studies with Napoleon Hill Institute, Cleona and the leadership team always talks about, hey, we are the light. We have a message here that we can share. You know, so study it, digest it, understand it, and share it in the best way possible so that we can positively impact the lives of 8 billion people, the population of the world. I mean, we are a group of people sitting in this room right now. We all come from different backgrounds, different ideas, different mindsets, but we're studying the same information. And some of it we may, you know, digest it a little bit differently. We may understand it a little bit differently, but we're here to learn so that we can figure out how we can use it to make ourselves better and to help others. Betty, go for it.
Some people are just not ready to receive the information we want to give them, and it takes them a while to understand it. It's just like our kids. How many times can you tell them over and over, and then they finally start to believe you that mom is right with wisdom, right? It's just our age and our experiences. But a lot of people are difficult to, they're not ready. That's why.
Yeah, you know, it's not that they're difficult. They're not ready.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And there was a point in time where none of us were ready to understand the wisdom of those that have gone before us, right? And so we have to be encouraged. I think encouragement is a very powerful word. You know, you have a right to your opinion. It may be different than mine. Here's a book that I might suggest that you read to give you a different perspective. You know, I think as I grew through my teenage years, I was not a very good student. My parents would be amazed at the things that I'm doing today because they would have never thought that that would happen. You know, but at the end of the day, I read more books today than I've ever read in my life. And I read them for perspective. I want to understand what this person says and what that person says. And what I'm finding is oftentimes the stuff that I read, they all kind of merge with the same information. And the information is very simple. Be kind to others. Do the right thing. The golden rule. Communication, building relationships. I mean, all the things that I read, that's the message that I keep getting over and over and over. And, you know, for those of you who know me well, you know, I post a positive quote every single day. I have no lack of positive quotes from all these different people sharing the same message. What can you do to help other people? To give them, I want somebody to look at one of my quotes and say, what does he mean by that? Where'd that come from? Jim Rohn. Who the hell is Jim Rohn? And I want them to go look at that because Jim Rohn's the book that I have from Jim Rohn. It's actually falling apart, not because I've read it too much, but the glue's coming apart on the pages. So I won't read it there anymore. I'm reading it on my Kindle. I tried to buy a new version of the book. That book is so special that a hardback copy of this book is going to cost me $150.
Wow.
So there aren't a lot of them out there. So I take pride in the library that I'm building, the material that I'm reading every single day. I spend at least an hour a day reading. And I had to break away. I was reading nothing but Napoleon Hill for a while. Then I broke away. I said, okay, I got to read something else because I need a different perspective. And then I go back and read Napoleon. I kind of bounce back and forth. So when you read, can you take notes? Can you share the message? And do you take the opportunity to share the message when somebody opens the door, even if it's just a little bit, right? Brad, what do you got from Wisconsin? What are you taking out of this?
Oh man, a ton. I don't know where to start. For your last comment, though, it reminds me of someone saying all books are fiction until they're put into action, and
Wow, I like that.
yeah, but the drifting thing in particular in this chapter, I mean, we are in a world of drifting opportunity everywhere, and it's kind of hard not to with all the, with all the options out there. So, but
Well,
that's what I
it's
got.
interesting. It's interesting, Brad, you talk about, I don't mean to interrupt, but you just said something about options, right? There are so many different opportunities that it's challenging for us to pick a specific, definite purpose, right? So figuring out what it is exactly that you want and blocking everything else out. Someone asked me a couple of weeks ago, I used to make decisions really quickly, especially when I knew exactly what I wanted. And I said, that's the key. At one point in time, you knew exactly what you wanted, whether it had to do with fitness or sports or whatever. You knew exactly what you wanted. So it was easy to make a decision because if it didn't align, if something came in and it didn't align with what you wanted, you could just say no to it. But because our world goes so fast and there are so many different options, it's challenging for us to pick and be confident in the definite purpose that we want to achieve. And I think everyone in this room faces that every single day. Even those of us who are the strongest in figuring out what it is that we want, we still struggle with distraction. And that's where willpower, discipline comes into play. Is this really what you want? Are you willing to pay the price to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself? Because if you're not willing to pay the price, you'll follow any other option that might be out there for you. Myrna.
And also being intentional about about your schedule, your scheduling. That'll help with drift. I'm learning that every day. I mean,
Yeah.
there are times when I get pulled in so many different directions, but when you're intentional, I learn about your scheduling, and your schedule helps you to stay on track instead of saying, "What am I supposed to be doing right now? Oh yeah, that's right. Let me go back to my schedule and just keep
Yeah.
going at it." So that
I
was a
love
big thing for me.
I love the word intentional. What is it that I want to accomplish? I just did a video yesterday. So Tuesdays post a new video on my YouTube channel. And yesterday was all about the Sunday scaries. I don't know if any of you watched it. If you didn't, please subscribe to my channel. They're usually quick 7, 10, at maximum 15 minutes, except for the replays that I post. And the uh, the scaries, I suffer from those a lot myself. Like I go to bed at night on Sunday and I can't sleep because I'm worried about what the new week is going to bring. And in this video, I share I read an article. It was a great article. And I shared 5 different things that we can do to protect ourselves from the Sunday scaries. Plan out your week. Goes along with what Myrna's saying. Be intentional. Take a deep breath, relax, be focused, know what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And if you have that clear picture in your mind, it allows you to walk into the new week with confidence, and confidence will get you through. Go ahead, Len.
You said something earlier, and I don't know if that was me that you were quoting from. sometimes it's hard to find what you really want. And when I was younger, I knew exactly what I wanted. And I knew that in 5 years or 4, I was going to have it. I just knew it. And it was really interesting because even my first child, I wanted a girl because I thought it was a girl I wanted. And I would pick the name and everything. And my friends say, "But you can't do that, Lynn." I said, "Well, I did it." And it always happened. And everything happened. And then someplace along the way, I lost it. And I'm feeling it right in my heart as I'm telling you this. And it took me a long time to get back, even to have a passion for something. I had no passion or anything. And to be honest with you, it was coming back home that kind of, it started developing a little bit and coming here, and I enjoy all this. But I'm wondering, as we get older, is it harder to find what we really want? Is it our age? What is it, Frank? Because I still know I have to do something. We both know I've got that there. But I want, there's been so many things, but it's so hard to really grasp it because I just have so many questions now, even with this here. Um, there's just so many things, and there's so many uncertainties, and watching the young people and even my own children, I see, them changing. I've changed also just doing this work. I've changed. So I'm seeing the children changing. But it's so hard sometimes to find exactly what I want. There's a lot of things I want, but it's to really go after it the way I did when I was younger. I don't know if other people are ever experiencing that, or if it's just me. I don't know, Frank.
What do you think,
Remember, I'm
guys?
probably older than all of you here I'm probably the oldest one here.
Don't
But yet
slow
I
down.
feel I'm young. I
Don't
still
slow
feel
down.
young.
Don't slow down, Lynn. I'm right behind you.
I don't
Anyone
think you'll
have
I
ever
feel
catch up.
I
Betty? Go
feel the
ahead.
same way as Lynn that when I was younger, I knew what I wanted. I would do whatever it took to get it. Now I just don't have that drive because it's a lot of work, a lot of work, a lot of hours, and I just don't want to put it in anymore.
Is that what it is, Betty?
I don't know. That's what it feels like to me. I'm not afraid to work. I'll still put in the hours, but I don't know.
Anyone
You
else?
know what? I feel the way you're saying it, you've almost tapped into how I'm feeling. And I
Mhm.
got those glitters, the goosebumps. With everybody saying they're glitters, Lynn. They're not goosebumps. And Betty, as you're saying it, I got them. And you know what the glitters are and those goosebumps? It's an affirmation of the spirit.
Mhm.
Is it
Interesting.
possible? Is it possible that in our current positions, we are living contently, and because we're content, we don't pursue with the same vigor and energy that we were when we didn't have what we have today. And so, therefore, maybe we don't want to work quite so hard. Maybe we don't want to risk what we already have, which would be the fear of poverty. Maybe we don't want to step outside the box, would be the fear of criticism. There are things, I mean, I'm not shy about my age. I'm 69. I'll be 70 in January. And I have everything in my life that I could possibly want. I have a very comfortable life. I don't really have to do the things that I do. But I do because I have a mission to help people. So my purpose is different. It's not about money. It's not about getting more. It's literally and authentically about helping other people. But I wonder if it's so easy. I know in my country, in the United States, it's so easy to be comfortable. Even the poorest in our country can have comfort enough that they don't have to go out there and push. And there once was a time where that wasn't true. Where if you wanted something, you had to give everything you got to get it. And it's become easy here in America. Bindu, do you have any comment on that? I know you're from a different country and maybe it's different where you are.
Yeah, while reading this, I felt as if I was walking through a familiar path. Means, uh, while reading, it recollects my memories. It's true. It's so true. Whatever is said in that is so true. And I don't know whether I can say here, but I'll say this outwitting the devil should be taught to the politicians here, to the spiritual leaders here, than the normal people. This should be taught to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Bindu, what a powerful statement that is. I grew up and I think many of you grew up in an age of do what I say. This is the way we do things here. Don't worry about what you're watching me doing. Do what I tell you to do. Right. So we're being educated, by a a society who, whether it's religious, political, educational, this is what we need to learn to get to a certain level, right? I know here in America, our education system was actually designed to create laborers. We didn't want you to think for yourself. We wanted to learn things that would allow you to work for me. That's what it was. And this is a different perspective. It's giving permission to people to take the basic knowledge that we have, implement it in a way that you think creatively to make this a better place. And that's not being projected today. I thankfully, I I hear people criticize young people all the time, and I look, you guys are crazy. Young people are great. They have creative minds. They're bucking against the system, which many of us may have done or were afraid to do back in our days. But they're not afraid to say, no, that's not the way I want to do it. That doesn't always feel good, as an older person trying to lead them in a good direction. But how do you learn except by taking journeys and making mistakes and experimenting and figuring stuff out? I watch a lot of old videos from the hippie days from the 60s and the 70s, and I watch all of these people that were being criticized with all of their thoughts of freedom and the music and all that. And a lot of those are like really great thinkers in our world today, because they did something different. They didn't revolt, they just didn't follow the path. So I think it's okay for us to take information that we're reading and learning and implementing it in a way that will help other people be creative. Just don't harm anybody. And if you pursue a goal that doesn't harm anybody, it doesn't make anybody feel bad about themselves. Just follow your dream and bring the best you can to the world. What's wrong with that? And this book is fantastic because it lays out, look at all of these ways that we've been controlled. Maybe intentionally, maybe not intentionally. I think probably it was intentional. They wanted to create a certain type of person in my country, in your country, whatever. But this is a different time. It's 2025. We have so much inspirational material that can help us be the best person we can be. And I always wrap up my YouTube video with, I just want to present a message that will give you the information that will help you live your best life. And if you live your best life, it's probably because you're helping someone else live their best lives. So just think positive. I'm over time. It's 8:04, but I want you guys to know this is good stuff. And I always want to have these kind of conversations because each one of us has the ability to impact the lives of at least 250 other people. I'm going to be posting a blog post tomorrow. There's a book that I read many, many years ago called How to Sell Anything to Anybody. And in that book, it was written by a gentleman by the name of Joe Girard, who was the #1 used car salesman in the world in the Guinness Book of World Records for 12 years in a row. And one of the chapters was called the Law of 250. And the Law of 250 simply says each one of us knows at least 250 people within our circle that if I do something really, really good for you, you're going to tell all those people. Likewise, if I do something really, really bad for you, you're going to tell all those people.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact that we have, if we present a message and we provide a service and we help each other from a perspective of authentic caring, we have the ability to impact not only that person, but 250 other people that person knows. Do the math. We have 7 of us in the room right now. 7. My math is not good. They were right about that in school. But 7 times 250, that's a lot of people that we have the impact, we have the ability to impact. So don't just come to this session and be entertained. As my friend Cleona O'Hara says, we're not here to entertain. We're here to educate and go out and share. Be the light. Go out there and share with the people one thing that you learned tonight. Take one thing away tonight and share it with someone tomorrow in some way, shape, or form. And you're going to see a reward coming back to you 100-fold. So, any final comments from anyone? Yelena, you've been very quiet this evening. I know you don't feel well, but you're still looking at me. I can see you looking at me. Are you doing good? You okay? You got anything to add?
Just- I think I'm losing my voice too now. So
It's all good. It's all good, Yelena. I hope you feel better soon.
thank you.
Lynn, what do you got? We'll wrap it up.
Real quickly, what I got was from what Bradford said was all, and I write things down. You know what? I have to write things down or I'm going to forget. So I put down a lot of little tips from everybody here. And the one thing that really stood up, and I got these little goosebumps again saying it, all books are fiction till they are put into action. Thank you, Bradford, for saying that. That is what stood out for me.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that. Use that quote tomorrow, Lynn.
I'll use it someplace, guaranteed.
All right. All right. My friends, I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for coming here tonight. I do appreciate all of you. And from my heart, I love the information that we pass here, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Frank.
Frank.
Thank
Have a good night,
you.
guys.
Bye.
What's your channel? You have to
Uh,
put your channel.
Yeah, just go to YouTube and type in Frank Menard. It'll take you right to it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.